This is Raptors fans seriously concerned. Of course, Masai Ujiri, Bobby Webster admitted this season's about development, about building up this talent of young guys. Even with acquiring Brandon Ingram, he's injured right now, so that has not changed the mission of the Raptors' quest to acquire a top talent in this year's NBA draft. And it's become even more dire, in fact, for the Raptors to get one of those transcendental talents in this year's NBA draft, as this timeline, this rebuild has been pushed up a notch because, frankly, Brandon Ingram is going to make this team a lot better going into next year. We can't be praying for ping pong balls next season when we have Scottie, RJ, Brandon Ingram, all the guys that are out here on this roster. So getting a top draft pick this season is a major priority. But a few things have come up over the past few days, which have some Raptors fans a little bit worried, a little bit, concerned about what's going on right now. And especially with the fact that this team has no desire on tanking for upcoming seasons. It's very much something that needs to get sorted out. So we're going to break down what has Raptors fans seriously concerned here now at this point, and what the team can really do to solve some of these issues, and some of them that might be out of the Toronto Raptors' hands. So lots of stuff to break down in this video, but before we dive into that, folks, you guys have been crushing it with the support as of late. Make sure you guys hit that like button if you're enjoying all the latest Toronto Raptors news coverage that we're delivering here on Raptors Digest, and don't want you to miss a single thing, so hit that like button so more and more people can see this video. But let's dive into what's been going on, because of course the Raptors, their mission has been clear from the jump of this season. Bobby Webster, Masai Ujiri, Jakob Poeltl, everyone said it on opening night. This team is trying to, get one of those top tier talents, trying to develop the young guys and facilitate this rebuild that was started once we traded away Pascal Siakam. Now, there is some people saying now that Brandon Ingram, there's worries that, hey, this team might be in a direction where they're trying to win now this season. They're throwing away that horrific, December that we had and say, hey, let's try to win. Let's try to get the plan. That's not going to happen. Brandon Ingram's injured. This is the approach just for this year. The focus is now on being good for the 2025-2026 season. So that's what we're looking at here right now at this point for this Raptors team. But there's a few things that are stepping in the way of the Raptors' approach for one of those top draft picks. Now, the Raptors are in a pretty good spot. Bottom 5 right now in the entire NBA. So that means top 5 chances at getting one of those top picks. And you look at it, it's not that crazy of an odds difference between the 5th worst spot and the worst spot out there in the NBA. 52% versus 42%. So, this team would have to be completely gutted to compete with how bad the Washington Wizards have been this season, frankly, including the New Orleans Pelicans. But there are some hopes that this team is able to catch the Charlotte Hornets, the Utah Jazz, to maximize the chances at getting one of those top 5 selections, get one of those top 5 picks. But there's one big hair in the soup in terms of, what we're looking at for the close of this season, and it's the Raptors' strength of schedule. You can take a look at it here right now. The Raptors have, I'll make it big again, basically, you see in the bottom left, the Raptors, in terms of NBA schedule, strength of schedule, they have by far the easiest schedule in the NBA, and it's by a substantial margin. Now, the Wizards are also pretty consistent, but we're not catching them regardless. But there are a few teams that the Raptors are competing with that do have a lot tougher schedules. I mean, the Brooklyn Nets, they're have in the top half in terms of strength of schedule, not the craziest, toughest schedule out there in the NBA, but looking at these odds, looking at these things, the Brooklyn Nets are the realistic team that can kind of swoop in and overtake the Toronto Raptors, and then, of course, the Bulls are a team. I don't think the Sixers are going to be bad enough. I know how rough their season's been, and they've looked bad in the games that we played against them, but the Sixers are not a team that I'm that worried about for catching the Toronto Raptors in the standings. We do have that kind of buffer zone, but the Bulls, the Brooklyn Nets, the Blazers have been pretty good lately, so it's they lost 3, but they were on a nice little win streak there. They were a team I was more worried about earlier in the season. But looking at those teams right now, like the Bulls have a much tougher schedule than the Raptors, and the Nets do as well. You see the Hornets. So this basically means the tougher the schedule, the more likely those teams are going to lose games. So that is the big thing that we're kind of looking at, that we're kind of dealing with. We want to stay ahead of these different NBA teams out there at this point. Now, the thing about it is the Sixers do have a pretty easy schedule, so that's the team that's closest to the Toronto Raptors right now. But being in the bottom 5 in terms of odds at this point is kind of crucial, because you see the significant drop-off. You have an 8% drop-off in chances, for your top 4 pick out there if you fall below out of that top 5. So that is not the ideal position. That is not the ideal path for this Raptors team to be in. So That's something that's a little bit concerning. Now, we can take a look at the schedule, right? You do have some tougher teams at the start, and it's not like the craziest teams with the Miami Heat, the Phoenix Suns, the Celtics, the Pacers. But after that, things get a lot easier, especially with some of the injuries the Magic have sustained. This team doesn't have a lot of tough matchups, a lot of tough opponents to close out this year. So, especially with the Brandon Ingram returning, we're not sure how close, how healthy we're going to be to finish off this season, but there are a lot of factors. There are a lot of things that come into play in regards to the Raptors' ability to lose games to, maximize their chances at capturing a flag over the course of this year. Now, there are some other indications and some other things that are going on now at this point, as Brooklyn Nets are a team that we're worried about. Cam Johnson came out and said this in regards to tanking. We don't care. We don't care what they say about that. Listen, at the end of the day, the 15th and 18th guys on this team have a job to do, and our job is to not to try and get a draft pick. Our job is to simply win basketball games. The basketball games that are in front of us, that's what we are going to put our effort in towards. We don't care about all that other noise. And then he dropped the hammer. We don't care about if that's what they think. They're not really a fan. You know what I mean? They don't want us to succeed. You're going to ask our own players to lose. We're not going to go out there and do that. We're out there to be a competitor. We're out there to compete, win every single game, and that's been a little hole that we've fought back. So basically, Cam Johnson on the Brooklyn Nets, who of course are the team that, given their roster construction, the expectations coming into this year, were a team that's supposed to be one of those bottom feeders. They made some trades to facilitate being a bottom feeder out there in the NBA. Essentially, that's a squad that I think the Raptors should be kind of worried about in terms of catching the odds. But they've been winning some games lately, and Cam Johnson, some of their top guys, do not want to lose those types of games. So that's a positive there that we can kind of look at. But the one thing that is seriously concerning and would really hurt the chances of capturing the flag is if Cooper Flagg doesn't come back, as essentially he's been winning some games. He's been having a good season out there for Duke, and he said, hey, I want to come back next year. I want to come back to Duke. So I want to really change everything in the top half of this draft if Cooper Flagg is not available. Of course, he is the big star out there in the NBA draft, the prize possession, the player that everyone's looking for. You're averaging 20 points per game in college, 8 rebounds per night, 4 assists, 1.2 blocks, 1.6 steals. He's an athletic phenom. He's shooting 37% from the three-point line. The dude is just a beast. Cooper Flagg is the guy that everyone wants on their team. So it is pretty concerning for a team that could have the top number 1 overall pick to see Cooper Flagg say, hey, I want to come back next year. Now, of course, a lot of people say this, but the money that he'd be turning down, is the number 1 pick. That would just be a crazy thing to do. But that is one thing that does have Raptors fans concerned out there along those lines. And right now, there's if the Raptors, the season ended today, there'd be a 10% chance that the Raptors do get Cooper Flagg. And that's pretty significant odds comparison. I mean, the worst team in the NBA is a 14% chance. It's not a surefire thing, but the Raptors are in a position to get one of those top tier talents, and that's what we're all looking for. Because with this, acquisition of Brandon Ingram this season, you gotta hit. You gotta hit a home run out there on your draft pick because you're probably not getting one of those elite picks anytime soon. So of course, Cooper Flagg would be that ideal pick. I mean, I've been watching highlights of this man in preparation, hopes that he lands at the Toronto Raptors, but I don't know. Let me know what you guys think about the strength of the schedule, the worries about Cooper Flagg not being an NBA draft. Let me know about all that in the comment section down below. Are you worried about it? Let me know. Anyways, you guys best take us far. I'm signing out.